Mrs. Reyes,
Here.
Mrs. Soshinek,
Here.
Mr. Ceniceros,
Here.
Mrs. Contreras,
Here.
Mrs. Barnett.
Thank you. We'll take a moment. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you. At this time, we'll ask for a moment of silence. Thank you. And I'll open it up for board member statements.
Good evening. So since our last meeting, I have been able to attend the Suns game where our fine arts choir was singing, and I loved that and loved that the Suns won that game. I was able to attend the district math competition here in Underdown and see our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students working hard in math. I then was able to watch my daughter perform in Fine Arts' Robin Hood performance, which was amazing. Thank you to all the staff that put forth so much time and energy. It was just so great to see students who auditioned on Monday were performing Friday and Saturday for the school and the community, and I know a lot of work went into that, so thank you. And then I also was able to attend the ASBA Women's Conference and get to network and learn more about myself as a leader with ASBA.
Good afternoon. I was also able to attend the ASBA Women's Conference. In addition to that, I'm so thankful to say that I was able to attend the NAACP West Valley meeting, and they offered for our students exclusively 50 sponsored NAAC memberships for our students. So anybody interested in that, please reach out to your prospective principal, and then we can go ahead and get that completely free of charge. It was offered actually from one of the Diamond members. Likewise, they also offered us 4 tickets to the HBCU All-Star Basketball game that's going to be taking place on the 7th of April at GCU. Are there any restrictions for kids? Yeah, thank you for asking. So they would like the students to be at least 8 years old. They can be no older than 17, but for our purposes, they won't be that old, hopefully.
Other statements?
No statements, but I just want to acknowledge that it's Women's History Month, and just want to thank all the ladies in the boardroom who I serve with, and thank all of our staff who are ladies.
Thank you. And I will just say that I attended the spelling bee, and why my granddaughter didn't win, I was hoping she would, but it was great to see how engaged the students are and extremely how bright they are. So in addition to that, thank all of the staff. It takes a lot of work to put that together, and I can tell it's not easy, so we appreciate that as well. So thank you for doing that. With that, we'll move on to Dr. Freeman to give the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Good evening, everyone. Buenas tardes a todos. I hope you all had a restful and rejuvenating spring break. As we start the final quarter of the school year, I want to encourage every one of you to stay focused and motivated and be resilient. To our parents, please continue to communicate with teachers and stay engaged with your child's education. Celebrate their achievements, no matter how big or small. If you ever need assistance or have concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to school district leadership. There's so much to report and to celebrate. It's going to be too long of a list for me to do everything tonight. So I encourage you all to visit our social media postings. There's a lot of great things happening in the district online and on our billboard. You'll be able to see all the incredible things happening around our schools. To start out, we had another exceptional digital learning day. Our students showcased an array of activities. Some of our students joined us digitally here in the boardroom, demonstrating use of digital tools for collaboration. Our young coders used tools to solve intricate puzzles, problems, programming robots, and designing their own games. Students demonstrated applications of technology for science, engineering, and math concepts, used interactive platforms. Students can visit with students in other countries or historical sites or even outer space from the technology services that we have here. They can also craft digital art with experiment graphic design, animation. So there's a lot of cool things happening. Lots of time, effort, and collaboration goes into an event like that. So I want to thank our community partners who attended, our hardworking staff who were involved in planning the event, and everybody who participated. It was a really impressive day. A lot of you are aware that Dr. Seuss's birthday is celebrated across the country and across our schools with guest readers, book swaps, book fairs, literary challenges, reading nooks, and much more to be sure to do what we can to rekindle the love of reading. At Fine Arts, students from different grade levels partnered up to participate in reading buddies, and a time was set aside each day during the week to drop everything and read, or dear time. Classes were encouraged to experiment with different locations during reading, outside, on the floor, with a blanket or a pillow, with a flashlight, you get it, on a train, with a mouse, in a house, etc. So the Falcons welcomed many parents as guest readers, and the students were really excited to be able to purchase books at the fair. At Tres Rios, the staff recognized the Pumas who were caught reading and gave them tickets to enter a drawing for Scholastic Book Fair gift cards weekly. 3 student winners were announced and celebrated every Friday. The Lake and Leones theme on Monday was, oh, what places you'll go, and to dress like your future career, because they're always encouraging students to travel to the future and imagine the things they can be. Students designed book covers, created character crime scenes, and read with buddy classes. The City of Avondale Outreach Library visited to sign up families for their own Avondale library cards. At Estrella Vista STEM Academy, volunteers from United Way read kindergarten through 3rd grade classes, judged bulletin boards for prizes, and connected reading to home with bingo boards. And they planned a Spirit Week with Dr. Seuss books. Hawk families and community members enjoyed sharing reading with kids. The Collier Business Academy held its annual literacy night. Each grade level created their own literacy-based game, and students and community members played and took home teacher-made versions. The event attracted 333 attendees, including Dr. Haid. They appreciated you being there, and their book fair sales tripled. I don't know if they account that just to Dr. Haid. I'd like to express our sincere gratitude to the Missoula Children's Theater for their week-long stay at Fine Arts that member Sosnick mentioned. They let the Falcons shine on stage and gave them a creative theater outlet, supported the production of the performance of Robin Hood for students ranging all the way from kindergarten to 8th grade on the same stage. Everything from performing on stage to participating in class workshops was a great learning experience. I also was able to go, and the What's a Skunk to Do bit stole the show. Skunks rule. At the end of last month, 3rd through 8th grade students competed in this year's Littleton District Math Challenge. That was also mentioned by board members, and it was fun to observe. The kids really get into it. The teams competed against each other in 2 different rounds of math problems, problem solving, and trivia. The challenge winners were Collier Business Academy for 3rd and 4th grade and 7th and 8th grade teams. And then Country Place took first place in the 5th and 6th grade competition. Winning teams move on to complete the Regional West Side Impact Challenge on May 9th. So best of luck to the Littleton kids. We're thrilled to have our first round of kindergarten experience events. They provide a fantastic opportunity for parents and students to immerse themselves in the school community and get a glimpse of what awaits our youngest learners. They have a second round this Thursday. We've split the schools into 2 groups, early and late. So this Thursday is Collier, Estrella Vista, Fine Arts, and Quinton Academies starting at 6 p.m. Parents and future students will be able to meet the dedicated kindergarten teacher teams and learn about how to foster love for learning. It's also an important opportunity to hear more about the unique features of the school's focus and get answers to any questions parents might have about what to expect in kindergarten. Speaking of those little guys, some of our first graders went on a field trip to Wildlife World Zoo after they learned about animal life cycles and classifications, and it was a perfect way for them to make real-world connections to their learning. A fan favorite there was touching stingrays and feeding giraffes. Our 8th graders just returned from Washington, D.C. Wednesday and reported having a great time. Their itinerary was jam-packed start to finish, and the chaperones did a great job of keeping parents and organizers back here informed throughout the trip. You'll hear more about their travels in Williamsburg and around the Capitol at a future meeting showcase, but tonight I just wanted to let you know that we received a lot of compliments about their conduct and are always happy when everybody returns safely. Here at the Underdown Learning Center, the building where the Boys and Girls Club is housed has been completely remodeled. We're really proud of how it looks. Repaint on the walls, flooring, turf outside for the play areas, and other updates. The facility looks totally refreshed, and we'd like to thank the operations department, our partners with Boys and Girls Club, and everybody who helped and was involved in that project. Also, thank you in order for Southwest Food Services honoring National School Breakfast Week at the beginning of March. This year they had Surfs Up with School Breakfast as their theme. The occasion serves to remind to support families, schools, and communities in realizing the value of a nutritional start to the day in fostering students' academic achievement. Through federally sponsored school breakfast program, our district provides approximately 4,000 breakfasts every day. Actually, we provide more than that. They just don't all eat all of it. That adhere to federal nutritional guidelines while enticing our students to start the day with a balanced meal and thoughts about their behavior. Before I close, I want to recognize and congratulate Miss Quinones, one of our teachers at Quinton STEM Academy. She was selected the Outstanding Special Education Teacher by Arizona State DAR, and she's receiving a grant along with an invitation to their state conference awards ceremony and gala banquet in April. We're really proud of her recognition. In closing, I want to say thank you to Suntech Concrete. They're not a vendor of the district, but they surprised Miss Garcia's kindergarten classroom at Littleton STEM Academy with supplies for her room. And that's everything I have this evening. Thank you.
That's a lot.
That's a short version.
That's great. Doing good things. So at this time, we're going to turn it over to Mrs. Garrison for a program showcase.
Thank you, Madam President, Governing Board. Tonight we welcome Dr. Rob Manahan, principal at the Fine Arts Academy, to get his school showcase started. You only need to visit their campus once to see how they promote creativity and integrate the arts to support students' success. He has a video to share with us, and you just might see those little stinkers Dr. Freeman referenced. He's also going to recognize his dedicated volunteer, Miss Latina Danner, and his Kids at Hope Student of the Month, 6th grader Frank Camarillo. Dr. Manahan.
Thank you very much. Well, good evening, President Reyes, members of the board, Dr. Freeman, members of the executive team, and guests. As she said, I'm Rob Manahan, principal of Fine Arts Academy, home of the Fearless Falcons and the reigning Boys Soccer League champions, I might add. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you our showcase as well as our Volunteer of the Year and our fabulous Falcon Kid at Hope, Frank Camarillo. I also want to take a minute to recognize the exceptional staff that I've had the honor and the pleasure to work with this year. Their dedication is exceptional. Their commitment to our motto of changing the world and creating miracles every day is inspirational. Part of this team, of course, is my exceptional administrative team, which includes Mr. Steve Rickert, our assistant principal, Ms. Cassandra Bazowski, our dean of students, and Sadiqa Padawer, our instructional coach, or in line with Dr. Seuss, thing 1, thing 2, thing 3, and thing 4. So at this time, though, I would like to invite Mr. Rickert to help facilitate our presentation tonight with the presentation of our showcase. Take it away, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, President Reyes, Governing Board members, Dr. Freeman, and the executive team. I am incredibly excited to introduce our showcase of our amazing fine arts program. Throughout the course of the year, our students have numerous opportunities to both develop and display their passions and their talents in the arts. Among some of the highlights this year in our choir, music, and drama program, we had 30 students, as was alluded to earlier, that had the opportunity to perform in front of tens of thousands of Phoenix Suns fans back in the game in February. We had over 120 students that sang together for a winter choir and band concert in December. We have roughly 200 students in grades 4 through 8 who learned how to rock out on the ukulele. We have 50 students that auditioned, rehearsed, and performed Robin Hood in just 1 week with the Missoula Children's Theater. And students, in addition, are using their music tech skills to create videos, slideshows, and presentations for their core subject areas, too. In our band program, students have performed for our monthly Fine Arts Falcon Fest, both as solo performers and as a chamber band ensemble. Our cellist performed back in January at our school choice night and performed a variety of classical pieces. Our students at the Fine Arts Academy band program participate in band free of cost, no cost to rent or purchase an instrument due to the overwhelming support from our district in purchasing new instruments and repairing instruments from previous years and other campuses. Our dance program had the opportunity to attend the Scottsdale County College Dance Concert, and they put on their own dance performance concert in December. In January, our dance team participated in the Duel in the Desert dance and cheer competition with amazing results. Our Fireflies team, which is comprised of first and second graders, came away with the grade silver in jazz and hip hop, as well as the bronze in jazz. Our imagery team, which is comprised of third through fifth graders, came away with a silver in the contemporary category, and our elite stars, 6th through 8th graders, came away with the silver in hip hop. In March, our dance students participated in the Arizona Dance Education Organization Middle and High School Dance Festival, bringing home a Superior Rating Award. They have a spring concert that will be held on May 3rd. Our cheer team performs at each of our athletic competitions. In January, they also had the opportunity to participate in the Duel in the Desert Dance and Cheer competition, winning the Gold Awards for Show Cheer, the Audience Sweetheart Award for their favorite charity, which is the Hadley Foundation for Education. Our cheerleaders cheered and performed at the halftime show for our district all-star basketball game. They have also performed in our winter dance concert, as well as they have the upcoming spring concert performance as well. Beyond what they do as a cheer team on the field and on the court and in the competitions, they also give back. They participate in charity events such as making 50 health and safety packs for homeless, which were given out around Christmas time. They made a variety of spirit gear for our teams as they were progressing through competitions and playoffs, as well as picking up paper and trash around the school grounds in the mornings. Our art program has an art club for students in 5th through 8th grade where they can paint banners, posters, create beautiful book fair, hallway displays for the school. If you had an opportunity to go through and walk the hallways, you see the work that they do. We had an 8th grade student, Juan, who was selected by Artsonia for the Artsonia contest, Student of the Week, against students from across the United States. And he won with the help of our school and our community. Kindergarten through 8th grade students all have online portfolios which will follow them each of their years throughout fine arts. This year alone, we have almost 2,500 pieces of artwork on our fine arts website. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our video.
Fine arts because of the teachers.
We are the Falcons, we came here to slay. We'll get that ball and we'll do it
I love fine arts because of student council, art club, and NJHS. I like fine arts because, like, first of all, you have like a whole bunch of different options.
I like fine arts because I could play basketball and I could do art, and that's the two things I like doing at school.
Presentation of the national anthem performed by Littleton Fine Arts Academy.
So on behalf of our entire fine arts community, just want to thank each and every one of you for all your support throughout the year, your attendance at the events that we mentioned. It means so much to our students. And a special thank you to Dr. Freeman for sharing his skills with us at the behind the drum set at the winter concert. Definitely a very great treat for the kids, so thank you. And at this time, we'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I would just say on behalf of all of the board, thank you. Thank the staff, and above all, thanks the students for all of the skills, which were many, that was displayed. That's great, great work for everyone. Thank you.
I have to add something in closing is I attended Fine Arts when it first opened, so it's amazing to see how the stage has grown and how the programs have grown, and it made me a little emotional just to see how amazing the school is continuing to go on. So thank you all.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, and I couldn't agree more. It is an amazing school. It's been an amazing year. And as you know, there's a lot of research around parent engagement, volunteerism, and support of schools. And really, it is about great communities make great schools make great communities. We have a great school because of the community, because of the work of our staff, and because of our parent volunteers. And we're highlighting tonight one parent volunteer in particular who has made a difference for our kids in the short time that she's been here, for our staff, and for the community. So we'd like to go ahead and bring that video up, if you would.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to share with you our exceptional volunteer of the year. That would be Latina Danner. Mrs. Danner is everywhere in her support of her children and our school. We know that partnerships with our parents and the support they can provide for our staff and students is critical in creating an outstanding educational environment for our school, and Mrs. Danner does just that. She's involved with PTSA. She volunteers in her children's classroom as well as in the library. Additionally, she most recently donated wonderful baby shower diaper cakes for our expectant mothers on staff, and also volunteered to support our recent theatrical performance of Robin Hood with her time, data entry, and supervision. She does so with enthusiasm and always a smile. In the classroom, Mrs. Danner goes above and beyond to support and encourage both the scholars and the teacher. She regularly volunteers in the classroom, sometimes several days in 1 week, after leaving work and heading almost immediately to the school. Mrs. Danner serves as an ace for our scholars that need additional support in academics and/or behavior. She assists with testing struggling scholars individually on sight word recognition, as well as with preparing index cards for them to practice. Additionally, she helps with monitoring students not only with sight word recognition, but fluency also. Moreover, Mrs. Danner conducts small group sessions with select scholars on grammar, writing, spelling, and comprehension. And she does it like a seasoned professional. We are very lucky to have such a versatile, dedicated parent volunteer, Latina Danner. Thank you for everything.
Good evening. And I would like to invite Ms. Latina Danner to come on forward.
And now it is my honor to introduce you to our kid at Hope. This young man is in 6th grade. He's attended fine arts since his kindergarten year. He's involved in both our sports programs as well as NJHS and student council. And most importantly, he's just a role model for other students on campus. And we couldn't be more proud to recognize Frank Camarillo as our Kids at Hope Student of the Month.
I'm Frank Camarillo, a 6th grader at Fine Arts, and I am a kid at Hope. I am very involved here at Fine Arts, and some of the items I am involved in is NJHS, Student Council, Odyssey of the Mind, Art Club, and the football team. I've been here since kinder, and I have many aces like Miss Walla, Mrs. Spino, and of course my parents. Thank you Fine Arts for selecting me as a kid at Hope.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that opportunity to bring it all together, where we bring in students, parents, staff, community, and highlight the great things that make our school. So thank you very much. And any other last minute questions, comments, answers, solutions, ideas? Good to go?
No, thank you. We appreciate everything you do.
Part 2. Madam President, Governing Board, next up we have Mr. Kellen Thornton, the athletic coordinator, who's going to recognize the third quarter champions and selected athletes of the season. During the third quarter, we had girls softball and boys soccer, and as you are aware, the competition is always tough. Mr. Thornton.
Hello, Governing Board, and everybody at the meeting. Yes, so this quarter we had girls. Yeah, so this quarter we had girls softball and boys soccer. We also had cheerleading, which we offer all through all quarters. This year's soccer champions for the boys was the Fine Arts Falcons. Oh, sorry, I'm skipping ahead, sorry. Roles and responsibilities, we have 1 athletic coordinator, 4 site coordinators, 7 assistant principals, 3 deans, and we had 30 coaches this year to help us get through this season. We had 1, maybe 2 coaches for each sport, and even cheer. We had 4 to 5 schools with cheer this year also. So the next slide I have is the winners for the third quarter. For the boys soccer is the Fine Arts Falcons, who are coached by Michelle Walla and Andrea Nuguez.
He might be getting the band.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
My God, Kellen, get yourself together.
Congratulations.
I also want to recognize our girls softball champions, the Australia Vista Hawks, who are coached by Kelsey Barnes and Tori Parker.
Congratulations.
During the season, once it gets kind of closer to the end, we have each coach nominate an athlete of the season. And so for girls softball, being nominated by Kelsey Barnes is Adamaris Padilla. Sorry if I said your name wrong. Her leadership qualities are encouragement, respect, motivation, takes initiative, dedication, and responds to feedback, and a great attitude. Addie, as she's called by her teammates and coaches, has a positive attitude and determination, inspires those around her to strive for excellence in all aspects of life. Her dedication to softball and academic success reflects in her commitment to personal growth and achievement.
Congratulations.
And for boys soccer, being nominated by Michelle Waller is Danielle Rodriguez. Daniel Rodriguez, sorry. Daniel's leadership qualities are encouragement, respect, motivation, takes initiative, dedication, and responds to feedback, and has a great attitude. Daniel is our Fine Arts Soccer Player of the Season and 100% deserves this award. The athlete not only shows what it means to be a great teammate, leader, and a captain on the field, but also knows what it takes to do the best in the classroom too, sorry. This season, I was able to see how he takes positive attitude and respect for others in school and uses it on the field with his team. He is always motivating the team in practice and in games. As coaches, we could count on Danny to be at practice, be at the game, and be ready for any task at hand. He has been able to go through our team to take responsibility for their actions. I am so proud to see where Danny will be playing soccer next year, because they will be so lucky to have this player on their team. He has the dedication, motivation, and respect to be the very best. I am honored to be able to coach Danny this season and nominating him for Player of the Year.
Congratulations.
Quarter 4 athletics, we have girls volleyball and boys baseball coming up. This games start April 9th. Thank you, that's it from me.
Well, first, we want to thank you for your commitment and sharing all those great stories. I'm sure you have jobs and you make this above and beyond, so thank you for your service.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And that does go for all the coaches. I know that's extra time that you spend doing it, and we really do appreciate it. We understand it's above and beyond your normal duties, so thank you for doing that. We appreciate it greatly. With that, we're going to move on to a call to the public. I understand there is no call to the public, so we'll move on to our consent agenda. At this point, we understand you have lives after work, so if you need to leave, we're happy to have you stay, but if you need to leave for commitments and other things, please feel free to do so at this time. They would stay. But I also get you have dinner. Thank you again. Yeah. All right. With that, we'll move on to the consent agenda item at this point. Is there anything on the consent agenda that the board wishes to have pulled? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion will pass. Thank you. Moving on to item 10.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the Governing Board, Dr. Freeman, Littleton community. This evening, I'd like to share information about the FY22, FY23 annual financial audit. Arizona revised statute requires that any governing board of a school district that has adopted an expenditure budget of $2 million or more for the Maintenance and Operations Fund shall contract for an annual financial statement audit. In addition, any entity that expends over $750,000 annually in federal assistance must be reviewed by a single audit dictated by OMB Circular A-133. In the spring of 2021, the Arizona legislature passed legislation that required governing boards to publicly accept these audits through a roll call vote. The school districts must also upload these files to the Arizona Department of Education and provide them to the county schools superintendent's office. Both the financial statements audit and the single audit are performed each year by an independent audit firm. We use the firm Heinfield Meach and Company. The audits we are reviewing tonight are for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2023. We have 3 parts to review of this audit. The ACFR, which is the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, the single audit, and the USFR compliance review. There are 3 attachments in your item along with the presentation if you want to follow along. We're going to open up the attachment titled ACFR first. The Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, or the ACFR, is for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. The ACFR is a set of financial statements that comprise the financial report of the district and complies with the accounting requirements published by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. The most descriptive portion of the ACFR is on pages 19 through 28, and this is called the Management's Discussion and Analysis, also called the MD&A. This is a narrative overview of the financial activities of the district for fiscal year 23. This section reviews the financial highlights of the year. Following that, on pages 32 through 64 are the actual financial statements and the narrative notes of those financial statements. And then beginning on page 89 is the statistical section where financial trends, revenue, and debt capacity can be evaluated, as well as demographic and economic information that report on the environment of our district to help make comparisons with other schools. I know that's a lot to go through. It's a big report, but I can pause there for a minute if you guys have any questions on that piece, or I can continue with the single audit report.
Is there questions at this time? No. We'll ask you to continue, and if we have them, we'll hold them to the end.
All right, great.
Thank you.
The ACFR is also the document that the district submits to be considered for financial reporting awards. For the past 16 consecutive years, Littleton has received both the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting, as awarded by International ASBO Association, and the Certificate of Achievement of Excellence for Financial Reporting, as awarded by the Government Finance Officers Association. As quoted by a letter notice from the GFOA, the Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in the area of governmental accounting and financial reporting, and its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by a government and its management. Turning to the single audit report package, I recommend viewing page 10 on the PDF or page 8 in the report. This is where you will find a summary of the type of report issued, any non-compliance or weaknesses revealed, as well as the specific federal funds reviewed. For both financial statements and federal awards, the district was found to have no significant deficiencies identified and no material weaknesses regarding compliance. In addition, there were no instances of material non-compliance identified. The type of auditor's report is listed as unmodified. An auditor issues an unmodified audit opinion when the financial statements give a true and fair view and the organization has operated in accordance with all applicable financial reporting requirements. You will see on this page where Littleton Elementary School District is identified as a low-risk auditee. The specific federal funds that were reviewed during this period were ESSER funds as well as the Child Nutrition Program. Moving on to the USFR Compliance Questionnaire. To assist the Office of the Auditor General in determining whether a district has attained an acceptable degree of compliance with the requirements of the USFR, the audit firm must complete a USFR compliance questionnaire. Once the USFR compliance questionnaire is completed, it reveals any areas of deficiency. As indicated just moments ago, the audit states that there were no material non-compliance issues identified. Therefore, the number of deficiencies for this particular audit were minuscule in degree and still well below the average for districts as well as the statewide Heinfeld and Meach audited districts. The USFR compliance questionnaire is 36 pages long. It's comprised of 18 sections with a total of 171 questions. The questions are written in a way so that a positive response is desired. Through the completion of the USFR questionnaire, the audit firm identified 4 sections with an overall total of 5 notes for this fiscal year. These items are identified as a no answer on the questionnaire. USFR deficiencies, as noted on the last slide, Littleton was given 5 notes or deficiencies of the 171 specific areas that were reviewed. The slide you are looking at now shows the average school district annual deficiencies as recorded by Heinfeld and Meach clients. As you can see in comparison to previous years, Littleton continues to be well below the average findings for districts statewide, whose 2022 averages were 16 per year. I'd really like to acknowledge at this point all the staff that have taken part in the audit and that are involved in the audit on an annual basis. It's not only the staff from the business office, but also from IT, food service, the Welcome Center, Human Resources. All of those departments have a huge role in the Littleton's audit success. I want to thank everybody involved. I did want to let the board know that copies of each of the audit reports discussed tonight are available electronically on the board item, or hard copies are available upon request through the superintendent's office. At that point, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board has.
Are there questions? I just want to also thank you to you and your staff. In addition, it takes a lot of teamwork to pull all of this together. I've done a financial audit before, been involved in it. It's not easy. It probably takes months to gather everything, run reports, do all of it. So congratulations. I think 5 deficiencies, if that's what I recall. Excellent. It is not an easy audit. So congratulations to you and the whole district, because again, it's a full team on board to get it done. So thank you.
Thank you, President Reyes. At this point, I do need a roll call vote to stay compliant with state law.
Understand this is an action item, so at this point, I'll ask for a motion.
I motion the governing board approve the 2023 audits issued on December 27th, 2023 for the fiscal year 22-23.
I have a motion. Do I need, I'll second. At this point, all in favor?
Mrs. Reyes?
Sorry. Thank you. Oh, here, yeah. Okay, done. Thank you.
Mrs. Shenek?
Yes, aye.
Mr. Ceniceros?
Aye.
Mrs. Contreras? Aye. And Mrs. Barnett?
Aye.
Thank you. I think we're now back on track. So let's go to item 11, which is a discussion item only.
Thank you, Madam President. At this point this evening, there are 2 extracurricular fees or fees, not necessarily extracurricular fees, that I would like to discuss with the board. The first one is lunch prices for next fiscal year. Administration annually has to complete a tool called a Paid Lunch Equity Tool, and that is required by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. This tool is created to help districts calculate the paid lunch increase requirements to meet federal law. When the district completed the tool is determined to maintain compliance with the USDA guidelines, the district will need to increase the full paid lunch student price from the current price of $2.50 for lunch to $2.60, 10-cent increase. This increase will not affect our free lunch status or the reduced lunch rate of 40 cents, which is currently being covered by a grant through ADE for this fiscal year. We have not heard whether this grant will be extended into the next fiscal year, but with this being a discussion item, I'd like to open it up to the board if they have any questions or comments.
Questions?
I do. Mr. French, do the bulk of our students still receive free lunch? Approximately how many actually would have to make that payment every day, would you anticipate?
Member Barnett, President Reyes, the bulk of our students do still qualify for a free or a reduced status. I believe we're still in the 70% range, so we're talking about approximately 30% of our students that qualify that would be required to pay for a student lunch if they so choose to, or bring a lunch. So if they so choose to get a lunch through the cafeteria.
Any more questions? I have a question. So if it's a 10-cent rate increase on 30% of the population, what does that equal to in dollars? I mean, to me, it seems like it may not be worth it if it's 10 cents times 30%, but.
President Reyes,
money.
looking at, I review the financials with the SFE, our food management company, on an annual basis, or on a monthly basis, our annual financials. It's roughly, we serve roughly 100,000 paid meals a year, so we're talking about $10,000.
Is that a break-even point, or is there still a loss on that?
Member Reyes, there's no loss. This is a tool to make sure that we're staying compliant with the reduced or the free portion that we're getting from the federal government. We have seen a significant increase in food prices, inflation, minimum wage, where the majority of the food service staff are indexed off of. So we have had the ability to manage this up until now, and we need to make the step to, in our opinion, to increase the prices.
Price we pay for federal subsidy.
That's what I was looking for. So it's the price we pay for the federal subsidy.
Correct.
Okay, that answers that. Thank you. Other questions?
Okay, so I thought I understood, and now I feel like from that past conversation, I'm a little more confused. So we have to increase the price to stay in compliance with USDA, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if we were not to increase the price by the 10 cents, we wouldn't be in compliance, and what does that mean?
Member Soshnick, that's a great question. I've asked that of our food service management company, and I'm trying to get clarification through Arizona Department of Education. I do not believe we're putting our federal funding at risk. However, we are going to get to the point where we are no longer breaking even on this fund, and we will have to supplement it somewhere else.
Madam President, Member Sosnick, we received part of our food stuff through federal commodities program. In the past, when we've had a bigger increase, we've done it over 2 years. So we probably could get away with doing a nickel this year and a nickel next year, but I don't know that that really helps pocketbooks very much.
I will say, in preparing for this agenda item, I reached out to some of the other moms and dads that I know that have students in other districts. And our current $250 was the lowest of all of those districts for a full price. I never liked the idea of increasing, but I also feel like our families understand that food prices have gone up everywhere. It's just the same for us. 10 cents is only 10 cents, but that does add up. I understand that. But I also certainly don't want to put us in violation of any federal guidelines or any type of losing more money than that, so.
Member Stoshnik, I did talk with Southwest Food Service Excellence, who does have other districts throughout the valley that they work with, and we were also the lowest paid student lunch price that they work with as well.
I think we've done a good job always trying to keep as low as possible, hence probably the reason we're the lowest. So we've always been conscientious of our community for that reason, so thank you for doing the homework on it. With that, this is just a discussion item, so the extracurricular fees is next.
Yes, Madam President, members of the governing board, to begin the conversation on this item, I wanted to provide some historical context on the athletic participation fee. Pre-COVID, the district athletic fee structure was $25 per student or per student per sport, with a $60 annual max per student or a $90 family max per student or per family. Post-COVID, the district used ESSER funds and waived the participation fee for 1 year. Last year, the proposal before the board was the same as it is tonight, or that was going to be discussed tonight, but the board decided to adopt 50% of that fee proposal. So we came and charged the $15 per student per fee, or the $50 max per student, or the $100 max per family. So this is the historical context for kind of what we're discussing this evening. The administration has reviewed the athletic expenses from FY23 and the available data from that we've had so far this year. We've had 3 seasons, 3 out of the 4 seasons. In FY23, it costs the district approximately $310 per student, per sport, to conduct intra-school athletics. The current fee structure offsets approximately 4.8% of that. So 95% of that is being absorbed by the district. The administration proposes increasing the fee structure to $30 per student per activity, with a $100 student annual maximum and a $200 annual family maximum. This would allow the district to offset approximately 10% of the cost of administering the program. This proposal is designed to guard the program from current and future inflation, as well as align to the Arizona tax credit statute, which allows Arizona taxpayers to receive a credit, meaning a dollar-for-dollar reduction in their Arizona tax liability, and not just a deduction on their taxable income. That credit is $200 for single or head of household or married filing separate, and for $400 for married filing joint, once making contributions or paying fees directly to a public school in the state. This would mean that even single-parent households with multiple students would be able to have their students participate in sports and receive the $200 activity fee back to them in its entirety once they file their state taxes, whenever that is. This proposed fee structure we are discussing tonight was designed to be able to take full advantage of the Arizona tax credit program. So the $200 would be set for the families, and the district backed into the $100 per student and the $30 per sport. I know that was a lot to take in, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board has about the proposal this evening.
Questions?
I do. First and foremost, Ryan, you laid that out perfectly, pretty crystal clear. My concern is just this. Though it may not seem like a lot, 15 to 30, that doubles the amount. Mm-hmm. And so even if we're saying that, okay, you're going to get it back on the end once you file your tax return, a lot of our parents are living hand to mouth. And even that amount might preclude their children from participating. Think about the kids that were here just a half an hour ago and how they have so much joy in being able to participate, and this is the highlight of their life, and gives them the opportunity to kind of do something very constructive after school as opposed to something that would not be. Mm-hmm. So I guess my only concern would be, would it be a possibility, you think, for it maybe to go from 15 to 20 instead of 15 to 30? Because that seems like a huge jump when it really,
Yeah, Member Barnett, Madam President, I think everything you said was very valid. That's why I wanted to provide some historical context, is that pre-COVID, our fees were 25. And so that we did, jumping from 15 to 30, if you're looking at it in that lens, it can seem significant. If you looked where we were pre-COVID, we were at 25, so it's really the 25 to the 30 that we could look at in that context. Now, I did also want to let you know that principals do have the authority to waive fees on behalf of students. And so they do have that ability to do that for students that may have hardships or that they're aware of.
Is there a way, and both of my children are not in 6th grade, so I have not had to address the athletic fee as a parent. But I do address it a lot as a student activity fee for arts, because my daughter loves the arts and she joins, I think, everything fine arts offers her, she will join. Is there a way that we could combine the student activity fee with the athletic program activity fee? Because I know a lot of our athletes have this program, but I'm also having to pay my $15 student activity fee for dance or for choir or for things like that. And that could potentially take some of our families out of that tax credit.
Member Soshnick, President Reyes, those items that you just described would also qualify for the Arizona tax credit per the state of Arizona statute. So
But would my activity fee, if I add it all up, I could be potentially beyond the $200.
It's $400 if you're married, so you're still good.
I know, but what if I am not married next year? Who knows? Not that I want to put that out. Not that I want to put that out there, but.
Member Soshnick, you're correct. So if they had multiple students that were participating and they had hit their 200 maximum and were also participating in choir or dance, they would only be able to qualify if they were single or head of household or filing separately for $200.
Go ahead.
Okay. We're all jumping over your questions. Sorry, Ryan.
Oh, you're fine.
So say potentially if we were to go back to the original 25%, I know you said if we move up to 30, it offsets 10%. Would that bring us down, probably 7 or 8% if we were to do 25?
Member Sinicero's, President Reyes, 25 would be closer to 8.5 or 9%. I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, but
depends on how many kids cap out. So
right.
If you take the total and then do the average.
And then historically, we've always we've always had 4 to 5% as a cushion. Is that what, I know that's what you said before pandemic.
Member Sinicero's, the current structure that we have, we're at $15 per student. That essentially covers about 5% of the program cost that we currently incur for the district.
So I just have a comment, just to put it in context. As you stated, everything, makes sense. We were previously at 25, so this really is not a leap. It's just kind of moving back towards what will be the natural progression. But I would say this, and why I'm just a little bit leery is just think for context. Over Christmas break, I went to La Jolla High School's Christmas concert. I've previously been there for 3 years. My son is now a senior, so I've always went. This was the first time they charged at the door. So when we got to the door, we were surprised to learn that there was an app that we had to scan, and it would take $5, but you had to, ideally kind of have everything set up. So I thought that was bizarre, just a mild inconvenience. I paid my fee and went in. As I went in, there was a family behind me, a relatively large family, maybe 6 to 8 people, and they were all dressed up so beautifully in anticipation of this concert for their child, and they were not aware. So at that time, they were told that that fee was in place, $5 per person, and they were turned away. And so my concern, and I immediately reached out to the governing board, their governing board that evening. I don't want anything to preclude our children from being able to participate or do something that is productive. So I see what you're saying, it makes perfect sense, but I just think it's too big of a leap too soon.
I think if I could add to her point, is like, could we develop a structured plan? Like, what is our plan to ensure that families are aware that our principals can waive the fees? Can we have like an information campaign to ensure that families are made aware that when they get a packet saying, hey, when kids go home, they get a packet and they say that I want to do sports, that there's something on there that discloses that if they are struggling financially, that they can apply for that or reach out to the principal.
Yeah, Member Cinicero's, President Reyes, we could definitely work with our communications department to develop something to that effect. I think it's important to also remember that we are assuming that a student plays sports all 4 quarters. And that's really the only time that somebody's going to hit a cap. If we have somebody that just wants to play basketball or somebody that just wants to play softball, we're talking about $30 for the season.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go, right.
I'm just listening to the discussion and trying to figure out, what to bring back. What I'm kind of hearing is maybe 25, 75, 150, lowering all of those. That'll result in a new percent, which you'll hear when it comes back. And we have a hardship form. If we gave the hardship form to everybody when they did tryouts, then all the parents would be aware of the hardship form. All they would have to do would be to fill it out. That it already exists. It's just that everybody doesn't already know about it. But I think that's the difference between giving it to somebody on request and giving it to everybody.
I think that I was going to say I would like this. I would feel more comfortable with this if we were saying we were going back to the 25 instead of the 30, saying we're going back to, what we were before the pandemic, and then next year looking to see if we do need to increase that then. The other thing I would like to see is and I know we talk about this as a board, I feel like we talk about it every other month, but we need better marketing on these tax breaks and tax write-offs. I can tell you that I have paid numerous times for student activity fees for my daughter, and I know that I can get it as a tax write-off, but no one ever looked at me and said, hey, that $15 you just paid, you can get it as a tax break or a tax write-off. Like, we need as a district to be better at that so that our parents, while it is going to hurt to pay these fees, they know that they can get it back in some way.
I have one comment, or maybe two. One, we kicked this can down the road for a few years, and we're going to keep kicking it. The challenge is raising the fees double. It looks dramatic, right? I'm also okay with going back to pre-pandemic. But my question is, if we are 4.8, whatever it is you told, what is it? You said we absorb the rest. What do you absorb it at? $300 and some thousand is a lot of money. Where are you absorbing that money from?
This is all M&O override money. If we lose the override, it all goes away.
And that's what I thought. So, some of that is education as well. Some of that is notifying parents, hey, listen, we're doing this because we have this fund. If, in fact, this goes away, understand this is what happens, because most people just see us raising rates, right? They have no idea. But 4.86, we cover a lot. Why isn't that should be in the marking, right? The Littleton covers 90-some% of whatever it is. So I would just like to see that. Definitely, I don't think that we can keep kicking the can, because eventually you're going to be paying all of it, right? And the hardship, I don't know what it looks like, but what does it take to have a hardship? I understand you decide it, but I don't want it to become discriminatory either. So who decides it's a hardship based on financial or based on what?
We just use the same criteria for free lunch.
Madam President, so the principal has the discretion to fill this out for the student. Like Dr. Freeman had mentioned, if we send out a free and reduced lunch application to every student every year. And if a principal or somebody in the school notices that the student has gone multiple days with either not eating lunch or not going through the lunch line or not being able to pay for a lunch and they are in a paid status, they have the ability to fill out a free and reduced lunch application for them to their best of their knowledge, and that student would qualify for a free lunch for the rest of the school year. It's a similar process with student athletics.
Okay, so it sounds like you kind of heard the board and have stuff to take back, to bring back.
I think, probably, and again, we have other fees for facility use and things like that are nominal. And especially for groups that are correlated to the district's mission. So Girl Scouts or Brownies want to use a room, as long as they're out before the custodian goes home, we don't charge them. The big pressure that's been put on this, and the reason it's coming back with the expiration of ESSER, is the cost of the program has risen much more than the override has risen. So this share of the override by 1% is a little bigger than it used to be, which cuts into class size reduction, special area teachers, all the things that are those bullets on the override that are all paid out of here, so it puts more pressure on that. And we can definitely deconstruct down to the 25 per student per sport level and give you a new table. But to President Reyes's point, how sustainable that is, I think if the board realizes that if we're doing an additional $5 every year or two, that's more manageable for families. But eventually it gets to where, we would not be able to do all of the other things in the override program, or heaven forbid, if the voters didn't renew the override, the program would go away. So that's the greater context. And I think we all have some ideas of how we could restructure that and bring it back for a little savings for families. But that's where the pressure lies. We're not trying to be mean or greedy.
Yes.
I think this is just a comment or maybe something that could help guide us. What do neighboring elementary school districts do for their athletic programs? I know there's very few districts that actually cover the fees, but I think it would be nice to know what Avondale Elementary or Pendergast or Tolson Elementary are maybe doing, just so we can maybe get an idea of what that looks like.
I can reach out to some of my colleagues and see what they charge for that.
So I think at this point, there's enough direction given to Dr. Freeman to know what we need to do. So with that, if there's no more questions, we'll move on to number 12 with Dr. Hayde doing the job description, duties, and grades.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. The changes to the organizational chart prompted changes and additions to some job descriptions. So we'll be presenting these changes for discussion. There are 3 attachments. The pay grade table is attached for discussion purposes only, and changes are not anticipated. But we bring before you 2 new job descriptions that will be considered in the future by the board for approval. So if I could ask Mr. Verrill to open the Community Resources Special Projects job description. This is the first of the job descriptions that I'd like to present this evening, and it is for the position of parent liaison. Prior to this evening, we've always had this position, but it was classified as an office support specialist senior, and we've been unable to find a suitable candidate this year after our liaison left earlier in the year to take another position. So the demands of this position have increased in the last few years since we initially created it. The position works closely with our internal and external community and supports our special populations of homeless and foster care students. So Member Soshnik and Barnett, you might remember that we were in the ASBA breakout session together on this. So this position also, the state only allows one person in the district to qualify families for homeless status, so this position does this. And they also assist in coordinating transportation for these students with other districts and our own transportation department. So the purpose of changing this job description is to attract a larger pool of candidates by elevating it to a project specialist. And as I said, this is for discussion this evening, and I'm happy to answer questions. It was previously a grade 6, and we're recommending a grade 12. That might be one of your questions.
Questions? Is it typical for the school district to jump that high of a grade? 6 to 12 is double. Right.
President Reyes, I'm not sure that it's typical to double, but what we did is we looked at the position in relation to other, my mic died, in relation to other jobs of similar nature, and we would be in alignment with other school districts for this position.
Thank you.
No, it does not double pay.
No, it's just a large
Yes,
grade jump.
it
but
looks-
You've
yes.
answered my question. Thank you.
First, thank you for bringing this up. I know at the ASBA conference when we were discussing this, this was something that was weighing heavily on my mind, especially knowing the community that we serve. A lot of our students, I feel, fall under this guideline, just they don't know it. And so I think if we can continue to support them by having someone who's just kind of a specialist in this area to talk to them, I think will do great things for our students. So I'm really glad to see this. And that's all I want to say.
Thank you. The second position that we would look at this evening is the school leadership specialist. I changed the name, sorry. School leadership specialist, yes. We are restructuring the school leadership position that we previously had. So the biggest change to this position is that it's no longer a position on the executive team and no longer supervises principals. It's strictly a coach for leaders, particularly principals, to continue our work in leadership development. The changes were made in, I don't know why I can't find my words, but in collaboration, thank you, our value, with the principals who wanted a separate supervisor from a coach. And this is fairly typical for other districts to separate those responsibilities.
Questions on that? Okay, hearing none. So we're moving on to 13.
Yes, thank you. President Reyes, okay. I just lost where my stuff is. So this evening, we are looking at several things, and we separated them out in case you wanted to make changes to any of the one items. So we'll be looking at these separately. The first one that we're going to look at this evening is the wage statement that's coming back from last meeting. So in answer to Member Sanaceros' question about adding language, we consulted the attorney for the district, and the opinion was provided that the non-discrimination clause contained in the wage statement as presented that forbids discrimination based on sex equality extends to discrimination based on sexual orientation. And so based on that information, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those, but we are looking for this wage statement to be approved this evening by the board.
You want a separate vote on each item, or do you want?
Yes, we have it set up that way, so in case there are questions or you want to pull one, it would be easier for the members than last time.
Great, yeah. So at this point, is there questions or is there a motion on the wage statement language?
You need a motion?
I move we approve the wage statement language as presented for the fiscal year 24-25.
Is there a second?
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm going to abstain from voting.
Okay. So we have one abstain. Again, let me take another roll call. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. So we have one abstain, 3, so the motion passes. Oh, yeah, 2 abstain. All right, thank you. Or not present, actually. Moving on to item B.
Thank you, Madam President. The next item will be considering all of the placement schedules for our different employee groups. The first one I would like to look at this evening is the certified placement schedule, which is for our teachers. We are not recommending a change in the placement schedule per se, but we are recommending an increase to the stipends, which we'll also see in a later item for this, to give us an opportunity to recruit special ed teachers that are in, all teachers are hard to find, but special ed teachers are particularly hard to find. So we're asking that the self-contained special education stipend that you're seeing on this and the LD resource stipend both have been increased by $1,500. So we will hope that this will attract more teachers to Littleton, and you'll see this again on the stipend schedule. Any questions about that? Member Soshnik?
I know that trying to do the best for all students, we took some gifted teachers out of a gifted classroom and made them classroom traditional teachers. I guess my question is, I know that we don't have a crystal ball, we can't see in the future. Those teachers that think that they're going to be a gifted teacher and then we ask them to move, are they still able to receive that stipend?
Member Soshnik, that's a great question. So this year, we implemented that change, not because we wanted to, but out of necessity. They were able to keep that stipend. And so the next year, hopefully, we will not have to do that. And how we made that happen is they provided some assistance to other teachers and did some work to keep that stipend, so we were able to justify that and not be a gift on your behalf.
That was my concern, is I didn't want to take it away from them when we asked them to move.
Yes, ma'am.
Other questions on the staff salary and wage placement schedule?
I have 3 more schedules.
Okay.
Sorry, President Reyes. The next schedule is the classified placement schedule. So if you'll remember last year, we changed from a salary or wage range to a placement schedule. We learned a lot this year, and we also learned that we did a pretty good job. So this year for the classified placement schedule, we're recommending 2 changes. A 50-cent increase to the anchor cell, which is cell 1, and this is equivalent to the current minimum wage. We're also recommending the addition of a 6th column to allow a greater range of placement for new hires. This change will minimally affect current employees, and we will need to make small adjustments to approximately 20 employees to make sure that they are fit into the minimum amount. The third schedule we have this evening is the related services salary determination. This is the largest request that we're making. We increased the anchor cell by $7,630. That sounds like a lot. But this allows us to be competitive with contracted services staff, and this is a large impact to our budget when we have to go outside, and so it is much more efficient to have our own employees rather than hire contractors, and it's been increasingly difficult to retain them as there are fewer and fewer people available. So this would make it more cost effective and allow us to possibly bring 14 contractor positions back to the district by paying them an equivalent to what the contractor's paying. So we would be saving approximately $23,000 per employee that we contract, and we specifically looked at this for speech language pathologists because they're the largest number of people that we contract. So we currently pay between 115,000 and 156,000 for SLP contractors, which, as you can see from the very highest level on this determination chart, would be less than what we're paying a contractor, and then all of this money would be going to our employee.
So at this time, we'll open it up for
If you
any
need
questions that you
yes,
have.
and
on
then I
this.
have just one administrative schedule left. If there's no question on this one.
Does anyone have questions on the administrative placement schedule? Because that is the largest dollar amount.
No, that's the related services. I'm sorry, psychologists, OTPTs, and SLPs.
Okay, thank you for the
That
clarity.
was the one. The final placement schedule is administrative. We're recommending no changes to that schedule. We're recommending updates to the mileage reimbursement, though. This increase is due to the 4.5% state mileage reimbursement that was sent to those of us that work under ADOA. We also completed our study of the allowance for directors. We previously had them set at the mileage reimbursement state rate, and so they completed mileage reimbursements every month, and it's quite a lengthy amount of work. So this would allow them to get monthly mileage reimbursement, and then anyone that would travel outside of that 50-mile radius that the allowance allows, they would be reimbursed then at the additional rate for the additional wear and tear in their vehicle and the mileage outside of what we would normally expect someone to drive. Member Soshnick?
What is a TA principal?
Turnaround.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Other questions, concerns, comments?
If we have none, we would ask the board to approve the salary and wage placement schedules as presented this evening.
I move the governing board approve staff salary and wage placement schedules as presented for the fiscal year 2024-2025.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion will pass. Moving to item C.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. This is going to be really easy. So the stipend schedule has been pulled apart from the addenda, which it usually is presented together. And this is the increase that I discussed earlier on the teacher placement schedule. It's just, we highlight that there. This would be the increase of the stipends to our special education teachers. And on the chart, you can see that the old amount is crossed through and the new amount is in alignment with the other amounts that remain unchanged from the prior year. So if there are no other questions about that, we would ask that the board approve the stipend schedule.
I move that the governing board approve the staff stipend as presented for fiscal year 2024-2025.
I second.
There's a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Moving on to staff, next item.
Madam President, the last part of this item is the addenda schedule, and it's a formality at this point unless there are recommendations from the board. This we are asking to approve as it stands from last year, but I can answer any questions that you might have on it.
Questions? If not, I'll ask for a motion.
I move the governing board approve the staff addenda amounts as presented for the fiscal year 2024-2025.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. There's a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion will pass. Moving on to the incentive program.
So the incentive program, we would like to review a few things that we have as a recruitment and retention tool. We have one new piece that we would like the board to consider this evening, and then we have an update on our attendance incentive for drivers. So if I could have Mr. Verrill open this attachment, please. And make it just, yes. So the achievement goals, these stand as they were for last year. The incentive goals For performance, which is in the classroom site fund plan, we're continuing that with no recommended changes. Support staff and administrators, this has been in place for quite some time, that achievement recognition for performance across the district is paid at the calculation here. The grade point average, which would be 3.0 this year, is multiplied by 0.5% of each of the qualifying employees' base salary. Last year, before fourth quarter, we asked the board to consider a bus driver attendance incentive. That was passed, and we wanted to bring some information to the board so that you could decide if you wanted to continue this. So there are 27 driver positions, to put this into context, and in fiscal year 23, right after you approved it, in quarter 4, 14 people received the $250 attendance incentive. The data that we have thus far for this year, in quarter 1, 14 received it. Quarter 2, 23. Quarter 2, or sorry. Oh, I put that together, sorry. Quarter 1 was 23, quarter 2 was 20, and quarter 3 was 23 again, the same as 23. Quarter 2, we did have a lot of illnesses, but this does go to show you that in the shortage of drivers that we have, this really does make an impact to drivers being here and making a conscious effort to make sure that they miss no more than 4 sets of routes. So we really appreciate them. I know sometimes this is a discussion piece, so if we'd like to talk about that right now before the entire thing happens, not to pass or approve it, but to speak about it.
Is there discussion on this item?
Yeah, so out of 27 bus drivers, 14 got it?
14 got it in the last quarter.
Last quarter?
Quarter 4 and quarter 1 this year.
Okay. And has that helped us? Are we still shorthanded, bus drivers?
Member Sinaceros, yes, we are. We continually have people in training, and we do, our monitors are often those who we train up to be drivers, and we're a lot better off than most, but sometimes we have our substitute drivers, which is our transportation coordinator, Ms. Whitbeck, who's often on, and there are 2 other employees who hold CDLs that serve in substitute positions, actually 3 for us.
I just have comments. So I still find it very interesting we pay people to be here. That just blows my mind that we give them an attendance award. I mean, they have no problem making it, at least 14 of them, because we pay them. That's $3,500 if I take 14 times X times whatever the quarters is, which I didn't do. What if we looked at, rather than incentivizing to people to be here to do their job, what if we looked at the salary range and took that money and tried to say, okay, it's equal to X, whatever that is, could we increase their salary range versus giving them an incentive to be here at work? And it's just a thought.
Madam President, that's a great question, and I'd like to address that. So last year, we did increase the salary range, and we have been successful in recruiting and retaining drivers. We have addressed the compression issue for drivers that have been with us a long time. And so this actually helps us with the drivers that have been here for a long time, because they get a little bump as we're working. We still need to make an adjustment this year for, I think, approximately 7 drivers, that there's a big compression issue, but we're working on it, and they have been really appreciative of the work that we're doing, and we keep them informed.
So it's really kind of a combination, attendance and the compression, helping them to get more money because of the compression that would happen.
Yes, Madam President.
Thank you.
And I think, I can't even remember, is this being paid out of M&O or is it being paid out of the regular budget?
Mr. French says it's being paid out of M&O.
M&O, okay, good to know.
Thank you, Mr. French. The next item is our teacher and support staff recruitment. So currently, and we've had this in place since before COVID, for teachers and support staff who recruit teachers, they get $100 to $200 based on hard to fill. At this point, everything's hard to fill, after the successful completion of the first year of employment. And then another $100 is paid to that recruiter after the second successful year of employment. This has never been super successful, but probably at one time we had 8 or 9 recruitment stipends paid in a year prior to COVID. So the administration discussed increasing this recruiting stipend and possibly adding support staff, but we did not have an opportunity to do an in-depth analysis, but would welcome any feedback that you might have on that, or if you want us to bring that back at a later time.
Comments? Doesn't seem to be any big concern or comments about it. So.
Okay, thank you. The next piece that for teachers and support staff is an opportunity to participate in the pipeline program to teaching with our partnership with NAU. So this is where our teachers or our support staff people can obtain a teaching certificate or add an additional area of certification by completing a master's program in education at no cost to the employee. This again is in partnership with NAU, and employees must meet eligibility requirements of NAU. The last incentive that I would like to talk about this evening is new. This is for teachers and administrators, and this is an opportunity to participate in the Pipeline to Administration program and obtain either a master's or a doctoral degree. This program is in partnership with the American Intercontinental University System, who approached us and afforded us this opportunity if we choose to do so. There are maybe 5 other districts in the state that do that. The cost per year for the program to work towards either their master's, which can typically be finished in a year, or their doctorate is $5,000 a year. This is a significant savings to the employee, and employees must meet eligibility requirements and sign an agreement to participate. The difference in this program and the Pipeline to Teaching is it needs to be a shared cost because just in general, we feel like if they have some skin in the game, they're more likely to finish it, and we're putting some money forth. So, and when we met with employees, they agreed that that was an important piece to have. This is would result in partial professional development movement on the salary schedule. It's currently at 2.5%, and so if they pay half and we pay half, they could get half the credit for what they pay. And then there is a required repayment of service. So it would be for every year they're participating in the program and we put forth money, they owe us a year of service, kind of like the military does. And so this is new, and we'd like feedback or questions that you have for that before I ask you to approve these programs. All or one or none.
Questions?
When you mentioned that for every year they participate, they have to, is it wait a year? Or can you go over that again?
They have to work for the district another year.
Another year.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there, once they finish their degree, is there like a time frame they have to wait before they apply for a raise in the stipend, or is that the year?
It's, members Contreras, it's actually in the year, so when they complete 15 credit hours, they can apply for that movement, but it would be at a reduced rate because the district kicked in money. But that's a great question.
I have a question. What if they leave before their time?
Member Barnett, that's also a great question. So this is the agreement that our attorney worked on with us that we would bring forward for your approval if this is something that you're interested in participating in. So if they leave before their time or their program is unfinished, they must repay the money back to the district, but the board also has an opportunity to waive that in extraordinary circumstances, similar to what's in our current contracts for teachers and administrators. Member Soshank.
It's not a question, it's more of a comment. I really like this idea for administrators. I think so often we talk about how we don't have enough teachers, but we seem to be running nationally with the same issues. We don't have administrators. So if we can grow our own, and I also think for our students and for our families, knowing that there is a teacher who moved up to become an administrator, it feels like it's someone that they know, someone they understand. And so often our administrators get put in this position of like they're the bad guy when they're not. They're just having to take on extra duties. So I like this program, and thank you for bringing this to our attention, that we can have this in the district.
Yeah, I just want to echo what everybody said. I think it's a great idea. The fact that you said only 5 school districts do it, and we're going to be hopefully the 6th one to do it. I think that's an amazing thing. Also, just out of curiosity, you don't have to write it right now, what 5 districts are those? But just whenever it comes back.
Member Sinceros, I can get that in the board update to you. Off the top of my head is Douglas and Alhambra, I believe, but I don't know what the other ones are off the top of my head. I'm looking at Mrs. Musil because she's out there and she knows because she's been the spearhead. I'm like, yes, go, go, go. But we'll get it to you in an update for sure.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So
Just a brief plug to AIU. I'm in their admin program right now. I just started it, and it's a partnership with Tolleson High School District. It's definitely created more like the opportunity for me to build more relationships with people across the district. We're in classes together. We work together, collaborate on different tasks that are given to us. So it's a good program. I'm happy with it so far. Oh, I still have it due tonight, so it's not bad.
So it doesn't sound like there's any more questions or comments. So at this point, I'm looking for a motion.
I motion that the governing board approve the incentive schedule.
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion will pass. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're moving on to the organizational chart. Dr. Freeman?
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. The only changes that have been made to the org chart since the board reviewed it last time were some, what I call clerical cleanups. I found out that in HR, the director of talent recruitment and retention is not the same as the director of retention and talent recruitment. I had those backwards. And then our low voltage person in technology is part of the technology support specialists group. So that was cleaned up a little bit. Other than that, none of the rectangles were moved or changed. It's just in the final review of staff, we did a little bit of cleanup. So it is presented to you for approval pretty much in the same form as you discussed at the last meeting.
Thank you. At this point, I'll need a motion.
I just think I want to just say it. I know it's going to be a big task to have 3 cabinet members instead of 4 now. So I wish you all luck on this new org chart. And I make a motion to approve it.
Okay.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion will pass. Thank you. Dr. Freeman, moving on to information and legislative update.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I didn't get to pay a lot of attention to what happened at the Capitol today. Usually those meetings in Senate and House Ed, start on Tuesday. I did write a brief update, which I put into your details. So interestingly, the final week of committee work is always, I think, a target. Ends up sometimes changing depending on the politics, except for appropriations. And that's really where budget negotiations get handled and, put into writing to be moved on as bills. So there's supposed to be another week of meeting. In paying attention to House and Senate Ed, there weren't a lot of bills on the agenda. We don't think that's necessarily because of policy issue, but because of the politics down there, a little bit of horse trading going on maybe. So I put in in my details bill swaps, which kind of translate to I'll hear your bill if you'll hear my bill. We did see on the agenda for this week in House and Senate some bills requiring posting about nurses and letter grades, extending school liability in some cases, and allowing anyone to post all or part of the 10 Commandments in a school. Don't know how far any of that will get, but that was on posted agendas. Interesting, last week, there are some bills listed there. One is a lot of interest in the session this year in the Holocaust, so there's some funds allocated. House Ed passed a requirement for schools to disclose, or for anybody who applies to a school to disclose convictions. And I think the big addition to this is if they're awaiting trial. So most of our reference checks on people check to see if they've been convicted, but if you've been charged and are going through the process, that might not show up. So upon application, they have to indicate that they're in the process somewhere, which gives us a little bit of heads up, and it's a felony if you fail to report. So that's pretty high stakes. Another one that was related, didn't go through education, but military affairs. And that was if we have a parent or guardian who's got legal custody of a child and is also a sex offender, to let us know. And we do have staff that work regularly to update our database of registered sex offenders in the district and keep track of where those are and make sure that we don't have a bus stop at one of their houses or anything like that. So I don't know how contentious that is or why that made it into military affairs, but it's one of the other ones that we're watching just because it's a school notification bill. And what we anticipate is, you know, as these trades and things start happening, that maybe some things will move. There's also strike everything amendments that can be added to bills that weren't killed. There is budget negotiations, and I haven't heard anything about if they've broken into small groups or anything, which is one of the steps that happens when they start to bounce around ideas. And we still have the issue of the resolution to refer the state trust land grant proceeds for the use of schools next fiscal year. That would have to make the ballot this November in order to apply for the next fiscal year's budget when the Prop 123 cliff drops. So a lot of things still to pay attention to in the legislature.
Thank you. With that, I'm asking if there is any request to add items to the future meeting agendas. Hearing does not appear. We'll move to item 17. Item 17 is asking Dr. Tim Ogle to come to the podium for discussion regarding experience and qualifications of a potential consultant for the superintendent search.
Tonight to talk briefly with you about the upcoming superintendent process that you are beginning, really beginning tonight. This certainly for a board is the most important, most exciting, and most complicated opportunity that boards face. And what we're proposing tonight, if you select me as the search consultant, is to bring to you my team, which includes extensive experience with superintendent searches, deep roots in Arizona history, culture, deep understanding of the superintendencies in Arizona, the candidates, relationships with most of the districts around our state, and a great appreciation for the sophistication that is involved in the superintendent market today in recruiting people to these leadership positions and their importance. In addition to those factors, with Littleton Elementary District providing memberships in the nonprofit associations, you are able to leverage those relationships to bring search consultants like myself to you at dramatically reduced cost, reflective of the nonprofit organizations that we're contracted with. And our commitment to you, if we're selected, is that we would keep you under the procurement requirements for Arizona with regards to selecting service providers. So if you select Arizona school administrators and myself to take this opportunity with the 5 of you to embark on this endeavor, my commitment to you is to be your agent, and the 6 of us to work hand in glove to bring you the best match for your needs to lead the district into the next chapter in the history of Littleton Elementary School District. So my hope is that at the end of this process, all 6 of us can say we're really proud of the past at Littleton, and we're really excited about the future. That's my job, and that would be my commitment, and I would promise to work my tail off to bring success to you. So with that all being said, I'm happy to entertain any questions you might have about the search process, procedures, and the kind of opportunities that we would face together. So.
Just for clarity, can you give me a little bit of background about your ASBA experience and how you got all this came about?
Of course, sure. Thank you, President Reyes. So I came to Arizona myself in 2012 after a career in K-12 education in the Midwest, where I was a principal and superintendent, and did some graduate faculty work. I was selected as the executive director of the Arizona School Boards Association, where I served for 8 years. And during that tenure, we conducted most of the searches in Arizona, probably about 80% of those searches during that period of time. I left that organization at the beginning of 2020, took a couple years off, and after probably about 10,000 rounds of golf, I decided to re-enter the education environment. I really missed it. And thought I still had the chance to give service to districts. So I re-entered this business, so to speak, as an independent contractor last May, and I currently have a service agreement with ASA, who would be the LEA if you select us and this team as your search consultant. Thank you.
Questions, thoughts, comments?
Well, thank you for the presentation.
Of course.
Definitely have a lot of experience. I guess, how long has ASA been doing superintendent searches? Have they been doing it for some time?
began this, it's a great question, thank you. ASA began the process of providing this service to member districts last summer. The executive director of ASA, Dr. Tai, is a longtime colleague of mine, and he contacted me last summer and said he's getting requests from all over the state to provide services, and he said, would you come and help me? So that's kind of how that originated. So we've done about 10 of those so far as a team. I myself have probably been involved in, I would say, maybe 25 searches or so in my career, maybe more, both as a candidate, of course, as a consultant, and as an executive director providing oversight. I can say in good faith I've been involved in all the different facets myself, as well as the other members of the team that we utilize for this kind of thing. We also have a great national network, and if selected, we would provide that opportunity for Littleton to tap the national market to make sure that we find the right person for you.
I just have a question. So talk a little bit about your superintendent search and then your relationship, or what you bring in the mixing of the two. You know,
Okay.
It's a
Thank
difficult boundary, I would assume. So
Actually, it seems that way, outside looking in, a difficult boundary between the role of the board and the role of the superintendent. I have been both, and I've been blessed to be able to have success both as executive director of a state association representing boards, and having been a veteran superintendent, and having been involved in national searches. And so I think what I'm here to tell you is this is a sophisticated search. This is a wonderful opportunity for the right professionals. I expect it would be very competitive. And I also know that the market for top-notch superintendents is very competitive. And so I think what you get when you select us, collectively, our team, is kind of, as I said in my introduction, you get deep roots into Arizona, an understanding of our culture, understanding of our laws, understanding the nature of the superintendent market in Arizona. And so we're proud to say that we can do that. Independent search firms, private firms, so to speak, in my opinion, don't have that feature. And also, I can almost guarantee you wouldn't keep you under the procurement laws. You'd have to do competitive bidding. And it would be tens of thousands of dollars more than what we propose.
I have a question. And maybe this is a silly question. How did you come to us? Did someone tell you we were in the market for a superintendent search or what? Because I guess my biggest concern, the reason I ask, is that I would really like for in this next search there to be a level of objectivity, for it not to just be not necessarily, oh, we're gonna rubber stamp it, this is what we've always done, so we're just gonna continue to do the same thing. So I guess that's my question is like, is this how it goes? Like we just use you all every year or every time, when we are in that place? Or is there any other options, I guess?
Thank you for the question, and that's great. And if I was a board member, I'd have the same question. And so, I appreciate that very much. There's many ways to do this. I mean, you can take bids, you can do an intergalactic search with a national firm, from wherever. And you can extend the process, you can reduce it, we can customize it for you. And the short answer is no, there's no single pathway to get from here to there. I think with our organization, you get the ability to customize. And you get the ability to have the 5 of you work privately and independently with someone that you can build trust and respect with. And so that's my role. My role is to earn your trust and respect. And there is no such thing in something this important to the history and to the legacy of Littleton Elementary District. There's nothing more important than what will happen during this process. So the short answer is my role, if selected, is to help you be successful. That's the only job.
Well, and I'm going to comment on that as well. So I've hired a few superintendents in my career path here. And one reason this ASA was looked at is cost. Quite simple, nothing more, nothing less. It was under the procurement rule, and depending on the timeline that you want to create, you would have to bid out the majority of the time to find a consultant. Then there is the concern of budgetary concerns, what it cost. I won't tell you what I know we've paid before, it's a lot. And sometimes you get what you pay for, and sometimes it's not always the best or most pleasant experience that you would hope it would be. So looked at his credentials, took a look at his experience, which seemed to fit the criteria. But the most important thing was the role between boards and his experience. I know there's probably questions about the ASBA and the ASA and all of that. Really didn't enter into the conversation I had as much as tell me your price, what can you deliver, can you be impartial? Can you be, taking direction from the board in terms of what the board wants? And so hence, he was invited to be here for the board to hear it, ask questions, and then the board can make a decision as to what it feels is best, and then put the appropriate timeline to it accordingly.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam President. I couldn't agree more on every point.
I think this was a great conversation and great talk. I personally would like to see, and this is a very big process for our district, I think, and a very exciting process, I think, because I think Roger's been superintendent my entire life. So, it's been some time. It's been some time since we've done a superintendent search.
And to all of your credit, he's one of the longest serving superintendents in our state. I mean, a credit to the culture here. Yeah. So there'll be big shoes to fill.
So I think it's a very big process that I don't think that I personally don't want to rush it. And then I think that puts a lot of stress and pressure on our staff. So I think I would like to see just maybe one or two more options, I think, before moving forward on a consultant. But that's just my personal belief.
Of course. And that's certainly within your prerogative. That's why we're talking.
I mean, for me, having not been through this process, I definitely rely on the experience that, everybody brings to the table, and hearing, Kathy's input, and I know Kathy's been through this process, and I trust a lot I have a lot of confidence in her perspective as our president. So, again, going back to a couple of things that you mentioned, it's a very sophisticated search.
Yep.
You're able to customize it based off of what, our requests are, and having that conversation with us and building that trust with us, and all of that together. And then the cost is obviously a big factor.
Right.
So,
and I mean, that's leveraging your relationships with the nonprofit associations that you pay for.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Can you just talk about the concerns of ASBA dysfunction? That was a concern of mine when I heard about your skill set. I didn't really, I know you, but I don't know you, if that makes sense. I've been around a while to know your name, and your credentialing is well known. But I also had concerns about ASBA, the dysfunction, whatever you want to call it. Sure. I'm using the word dysfunction. Talk about that, because that definitely was it was in my mind, and I was concerned about it. So can you address that to the best that you can?
Of course. I left the organization in 2020, retired after 8 years there. And for me personally, it was time to go do something else, which COVID hit. And so for 2 years, I really wasn't active professionally, although I kept track of the profession, of course. But in the time that I left the organization, there were some challenges, including some of the COVID-created challenges that occurred that sort of when you tip over the first domino and things start to fall, so to speak, the organization went through a cycle of real challenges, socio-politically with its membership. And so that's a sad development, certainly, and not one that anyone desired to happen, of course. And so my personal professional journey, so to speak, came about when member districts started to call ASA and say, we need board help, we need superintendent search help, we need training, and can you guys do something? And Dr. Tai called me and said, can you come and help us? And so that's kind of how that originated. So we're still very friendly with ASBA. I talk to professionals in that organization weekly still, even though I haven't worked there since 2020. And Dr. Tai's the same. So it's not a competitive environment in any way. It's collegial. And our hope and everyone's hope is the organization rises back to its previous level of influence. So does that answer your question? Okay. Well, you're right, but it's just organizations go through life cycles.
Not so much a question, it's a comment. Thank you for your presentation. I don't think anyone discredits your expertise in superintendent and superintendent searches and laws in Arizona. I think for me, I feel like all of us at the DS have different experiences with superintendent searches. I've not done one myself as a board member. I've been through 2 as a staff member and the interview process, so I know a little bit, but definitely not to the level that Kathy has. I feel like as the 5 of us need to have a conversation on what we see about this and like what we want to do before we can honestly look to what type of consultant we want. And so I hate to say, like, we had your presentation and I would love to like just maybe possibly table this until we have that conversation as a group. I know that that's kind of next on the agenda, before I would feel 100% comfortable with kind of picking a consultant.
So that's certainly possible. Anything's possible.
Absolutely, you're in charge. No,
Yeah.
This is the 5 of you being very comfortable and working together and having a search consultant that you have ultimate trust and respect for. That's how it works. Because at the end of the day, everybody here wants a 5-0 vote on the final candidate.
Right.
We want that to happen.
Right.
That's a sign of success. And as I said in the beginning, we want to be at the point where all 6 of us say we're really proud of the past and we're really excited about the future. That would be the greatest outcome we could hope for.
If I could just ask one question, and I know since I can ask and it would be free because you're standing there, but what's the average time? I mean, I know from experience what it normally takes to hire a good superintendent. If you were just going to give us, what do you see in your 10 searches or whatever you've done, the average time it takes to get this moving? It's a lot of moving parts. What's your average time frame?
So, Madam President, members of the board, so I have been involved in, like I said, 20 or 25 searches in all different capacities over the years, and there is no single way to do this. And depending on the board's goals on timeline, you can spend, kind of more time up front in developing kind of the strategies to get you there. I know I'm talking in hyperbole, but nonetheless, the average time can be anywhere from 3 months to 6 months, depending upon the level of engagement that the board elects to have with the community,
right,
with the candidates, with preliminary work with the search consultant. And so that's one thing that we can assist you with, is customizing the search to meet your needs. And to the best of my knowledge, with Dr. Freeman with us until 12/31, it gives you that period of time to work with. However, the candidate market does have a life cycle. And the candidate market, because top-notch professionals are going to be contracted July 1 to go other places. And so I have facilitated searches with January 1 starts. I have been involved in several of those. So that can occur with a January 1 start, but it limits the talent pool. And so with the superintendent market the way it is, my recommendation and opinion is you want to expand the talent pool, not diminish it. And so you're faced with a expedited search to get someone, on contract July 1, or you're looking at a search whereby you you know, you can perhaps flirt with the idea of a January 1 start, or you can some come up with a creative solution to have a July 1 of 25 start time. So there's a couple of options in there that we can, you know, facilitate the way, depending on how you want to go.
Thank you. I know one search we did, we went too late, and it wasn't late at all in my mind. It was really early, but the
Right.
concern is the pool closes come
Right.
July, and what
Yes.
you had 10 candidates, you now have 2.
Right.
And so it is the reason I asked the question to see if
Absolutely.
the pool was, if that was still the dynamics out there. So
And
thank you.
No, you're very thoughtful. Then that's right, and that's exactly right.
Okay. Well, I think if there's no more questions at this point, what we would do is we will either approve or deny the motion and ask that we meet into executive session, which we do have in our platform, to maybe discuss more potential. Yes.
I'm just clarifying, can we table the conversation as opposed to approve or deny?
I'm going to defer that question because it is set as a
Madam
motion.
President, I'm sorry.
Well, we have our,
Member Sosnick. So it's agendized for action, but the action you could take would be to table.
okay.
Yeah. If you don't want to hire him, you don't have to fire him yet.
Right, that's
Right.
what I want to say.
Good point, thank you. All right, well, then if it's there any more questions or clarity? If not, then I guess what I heard is that we could move that the governing board table this particular item for potential future, for it to be resurrected again.
Right, of course.
So I've made that motion.
I second.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Hearing any opposition? Hearing none, then we will table item 17. And thank you again, sir.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you being here.
Of course, thank you for having me.
So with that, we're going to move into recess to executive session. Let me get my, and I do need a motion for that, yes.
I move that we recess into executive session to discuss advice from
Legal counsel.
counsel for superintendent searches.
Thank you.
Normally it's written for me. I apologize, guys.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? We'll go into executive session, noting time 8:09.